wanted to welcome some of the returning viewers, but also some of the net new viewers that might be joining us today. And if you had watched our previous episode 10, it was all about networking and the challenges therein during this pandemic. And this is obviously a problem in the global front. It's not just in a specific part of the world. And so I wanted to open up this forum today in episode 11, continuing on the topic of networking, but do it in the point of view of other industries outside of technology, and be able to consult with various other women leaders around the world that might have a different opinion on networking styles and methodology, depending on the culture or the global region they're from. So let me introduce the speakers today. And ladies, I know that each of you have a point of view on networking and what that might look like from your job or your role in your industry. So I'm going to ask you, first of all, to introduce yourself, what role or job or industry you're in, and what part of the globe you're in. And so we'll start with Aisha.
Everyone, my name is Aisha Gilani, and I'm a health coach. I'm based in Dubai in the Middle East.
Hi everyone, my name is Berenice Santamaria. I am Mexican, but now I'm living in Tarragona, Spain. I used to work for my government in Mexico, but now I'm an external consultant on drugs and crime issues.
My name is Nadia Ramzi. I'm from France. I'm Tunisian and I'm IT consulting.
Talking about networking in various industries. I wanted each of the speakers to talk about how networking is done and how it might be different in that part of the world. But in part one of the question, how is networking done as effectively as possible in your industry? And how has that been challenged with COVID? So we'll start off with Aisha.
My networking is a bit different since I'm a health coach and I help people achieve their fitness goals. I cannot just strike up a conversation about weight with someone, right? Because obviously that's extremely offensive and the other person might not appreciate that. So, what I need to do, I need to attract people towards me. I need them to get in touch with me and ask me to help them. So I'll just tell you how I do that. So one main thing now during the pandemic, obviously, is you need digital presence. That's extremely important, extremely important. So you need to be on Instagram, you need to be on Facebook, you need to keep posting every single day. I need to do that. So what I do is that whenever I come across a COVID related article, I just go and post that, or I'll post articles about increasing your immunity. Another thing I post is I keep posting testimonials of my clients. So, when you have let's say, a before and an after picture of my clients, again, that helps a lot as well. But in this specific region, when I post these testimonials, my clients refuse to remove their shirts, right? Because Middle East is a bit conservative, so they're not comfortable removing their shirt and showing their belly before and after. They're just not comfortable. Even when I ask them that, I'll blur your pictures, so can I post your pictures, but they're still not comfortable with that. But anyway, but they still send me their pictures, but with clothes on, and I post these before and after pictures. And then when my followers on Instagram, when they see this, they might discuss it with their friends, they might discuss it with their families, and then again, they try and get in touch with me. I make it a point that whenever I'm posting something, especially on Instagram, I fill it up with hashtags. So that again helps a lot. So for example, I always buy fresh juices from this specific company. It's called Barakat. It's a UAE based company. And what happens is that whenever I post something and I include them in the hashtag, they would repost my post. And when they would repost my post, like there are thousands of followers they see that, and then they come back to me and they start following me. And then once they are on the Instagram, I give them free consultations on Zoom. And again, that helps a lot because who doesn't want a free consultation? Like if you can speak to a health coach for 20 to 25 minutes and just talk about what your issues are, whatever your health issues are, what goals you want to achieve, and then I tell them how I can help them achieve their goals. And this is very helpful and it's very effective because up till now I've noticed whenever anyone signs up for a free consultation, 10 out of 10 times they always sign up with me, always. But then of course when I'm having this consultation, I need to make it a point that I don't sell myself too much. I have to listen to the client first. Obviously I need to listen to their issues, their health issues, whatever goals they want to achieve, and then I tell them how I can assist them in achieving those goals. Every 3 months, I would make it a point that I message all my old clients just to chit chat, just to ask them, how are you doing? Are you still following the diet plan? Hope everything is good. And a lot of times I've noticed what happens is that many of my clients would say, oh my God, Aisha, I was just thinking about you because I met this girl who was interested in health coaching and she was actually looking for a health coach, or I have a family member, or my spouse, they need some help, can they get in touch with you? So that always happens because all of us have such busy lives. that you need to make it a point to get in touch with them so that they remember you. And lastly, Dubai is not under a strict lockdown at this point in time, so everything is open here. So as long as you're maintaining social distance and as long as you're wearing a mask, the gyms are open, the malls are open, offices are open, everything is open. So we still get to have social gatherings, people are still going to the gym. Obviously, I try to avoid these things, but let's say if 3-4 people are meeting outdoors, somewhere outdoors, I end up going for those social gatherings.
Being able to understand who your clients are, being able to gain trust from them is very important, and those networking style is very effective. So thank you for your point of view. If I move to Berenice now, maybe Berenice, you could give perspective, because you worked for not only the government of Mexico, but also now you are in Spain, as you mentioned in your introduction. So providing consulting services in the two different countries. I know a lot of people would suggest working for yourself is very different from working with the government. So networking styles and methodologies may obviously differ between your two different type of jobs that you had, because you have to be politically kosher and you have to ensure that you are networking widely. You were traveling the globe. And so how do you do that effectively? And then moving to your consulting role and then not having the ability to fly too much now, how has that been affecting your networking?
I used to work in Mexico for the anti-drugs office. So I was responsible on the international issues, the international relations on that office. I was the director of international affairs. So as the name says, my work was international affairs. We used to work with many international, bilateral, regional, multilateral areas, international areas. And well, by then, when I was in there, we used to have a lot of meetings, international meetings. I used to travel a lot because Mexico was part of different mechanism and treaties about drugs and about crime. My main topic is drugs. I'm a lawyer as a profession, but since I was working in government, I got some expertise on drugs and crime topics. When I moved to Nigeria, I was still working as an external consultant for my country, for my government, but also I was very lucky because I had partners and colleagues from different parts of the world, mainly the U.S., because as you know, Mexico has a lot of relationship with the U.S. on these topics, drugs and crime. My country has a very, very, very complicated situation about these two issues, about drugs and drugs related to crime, or crime related to drugs. So I was supporting from Nigeria, but also I had the chance to meet some people from the anti-drugs office in Nigeria, and also from the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime in Nigeria, also in Africa. And I had this beautiful chance to, I mean, beautiful because it's like a new experience, but it was very impressive for me and also very sad to know that this kind of situation on those countries. You know, it's not the same to deal with this situation in Mexico, that it's very tough, that it's very hard. But in countries like Nigeria or Africa, where the situation is totally different, and I had this very great opportunity to meet and to chat with people from there, And it was very impressive how networking helps. In my field, the exchange of information, it's really important. If you don't have information, you're not able to implement strategies or actions to improve these problems. We work on strategies in my country, but all the countries in the world also need to deal with this situation, drugs and crime. So in order to implement strategies and actions, effective actions against supply reduction and demand reduction also, but now governments are putting a lot of attention on drug demand reduction, because the problem is not the drug, the problem is the users. In my field, this networking between officials, but between also people from that community is very important, because we as officials need the information, but the people in that community, they are the people who really knows what is going on. We can suppose from information, but the people who deals every day with these situations, with the kids using drugs and the young people using drugs, is the people from the community. So we need to be very close to them, and we need to make these networks in order to get close to them, in order to get information from them and get the trusty from them, because we need them to improve all these strategies. When COVID happened, I had to move to Spain. I work mainly with governments, so most of the countries closed the agencies. Since COVID, most of the agencies all around the world, even now in Spain, we're still in lockdown. Now, since the government closed, has been very complicated. But the country, now I'm working with people from the US, with some colleagues from the US, or even here from Europe, from Vienna or from Belgium, and we have a lot of digital presence. We have a lot of online meetings. We share information every day. And I guess it's the same with Mexico. I'm still working with Mexico, but it has been complicated since the government is closed. So most of my sources that are from government, now it's difficult to get to the information, because everybody is just renewing activities, in Mexico, in America, and it has not been easy, since everybody from government or working in government is doing little by little, and we're trying to get more online meetings and online information exchange, but it has not been easy.
I think what I learned from you is somewhat similar in the context that you have to gain trust, not only from the government officials in different countries, but you made a poignant comment on gaining trust from the communities they're in, because the users and the folks who are impacted by the drug usage is really the community at large, whether you're talking about Mexico or Spain or China or United States or Canada. It has to be that you have a reach out to that community. And so I know that that's very difficult, as you mentioned, during COVID and the fact that we're all grounded. But that's an interesting point, that you had two comments, that networking is very helpful when you have the intellect or data points. So you have to have the right data points. And then secondly, you have to have the right connections with the community so that you could gain trust and then be able to verify the veracity of that data that you have. So thank you for your share. Now we'll jump to Nadia, and maybe you can expand on your networking styles, methodologies within your consulting business. And then we'll segue to our second part of the question.
as they are today in times of COVID, and especially in IT consulting, because we have habits to go to the office, but today in curfew and lockdown in France, we can maybe go to the office one time per week, but not 2 times or 3 times. So according to me, the unique ways of networking in IT consulting is, first of all, as said by Aisha previously, is creating a virtual bubble. So we have to take care of our digital identity. We have to take care of our image, what image I give of myself. So, for example, we have to choose a good picture of us, a smiling and confident picture. That's too important. It's essential for us as a consultant. For example, if we have a LinkedIn profile, we have to have a good picture. Then we have to highlight our skills. We have, for example, to obtain certifications, develop other skills to match the market. For example, we have to ask ourselves if there is missing links in our networks, relationships, and we have to get in touch with them with the best possible manner. Next, we have to stay active. We have to stay active on the net, on LinkedIn. We have to learn about new technologies in France. So, for example, we have to participate to cyber conference. For example, today we have to be aware about new clients' needs. For example, I'm working for an insurance company. Sorry. And this company is asking all the time for new technologies, for new profiles. So, for example, when we are linking with another persons with new relationships, maybe through those relationships, we can get the informations about the new client's needs, and so we can respond to them to the best manner. It's better to ask to join a group, an industry group, which will allows us to have an easier access to big groups, like banks or insurance companies.
We'll segue to the second part of the question. Let me give you my experience as an Asian professional, having traveled the globe. Like yourselves, you're very well-traveled ladies, and you've been to all different parts of the world. And I find that networking does vary even in Asia. So as an example, when I went to Japan and I met with a senior vice president, usually we take the time in North America and maybe in your parts of the world, as we're riding the elevator in a professional organization, it's time to network with the people in the elevator. And this is normal for us in North America to do that small talk in the elevator and find out who's there. Someone introduces to somebody else. We exchange business cards, and then that allows us to grow our network and expand our network. And in Japan, I was so shocked because I did enough research on the culture and the professional protocols. And I believe that in my second week, I was very comfortable with everything that I've done in a kosher manner or halal manner. And I wanted to go into this meeting. And before that, we ended up riding the elevator together with her cohort of business team members. And obviously, I went naturally in my conversation mode. Hi, how are you? I didn't see you since Las Vegas in our conference. And then she looked at me and she did one of this. And then everybody in the elevator looked down, and then they were completely silent. And I sat there, or I stood there in the elevator, and I wasn't sure what I did incorrectly, but obviously that was not a very good technique for networking in Japan. I could do that freely in Korea, for example, and there's no problem. And so the diverse nature on how networking is done by different culture, by different countries, even as I shared with you a short video on the Swedish folks and how they may not like small talk. It's not in their culture to want to do small talk. So in countries like Sweden, how do they do networking effectively? So I wanted to ask each of you, representing Aisha in the Middle East. You've traveled there. Berenice, representing Mexico, Spain, and maybe the greater Latin America region. And Nadia, you yourself in France and Europe, but also you come from Tunisia. So that area of the globe, wondering what are the differences in networking styles and methodology? And if you could give one example for that particular global region, that would be a great share. So we start with, maybe we'll go backwards. We'll start with Nadia.
I'm going to say that, first of all, the first impression is very important here in France. So we have to be, so when we are making the presentations of ourselves, we have to be short, captivating, and sober. This is very important. This is essential. We don't have to be very shy, and we have to be sure of ourselves, for example. And we have to bring our stone to the building. We say this like this in France. So we have to bring our stone in the building and to the building. Sorry, we don't have. This is a little advice. People here in France do not have to wonder what other can bring to them. They have made contribution. We can only expect to see benefits in a medium or maybe a long time. We can't expect to get benefits right now. You know, we have to make it with the best manner, with the best way. We have to give advice to make a good impression, the first impression, essentially, and we have to show interest. I start about sharing a drink with a colleague. So I'm going to say that here in France, you can share, for example, a personal meal with a colleague, but not with the hierarchical superior.
Oh,
you know, yeah, yes, you can, for example, this is not a generality, but in 90% of situation, it's like this. You can share something with your colleagues, but not with your hierarchical superior. So I think that we need today to break this useless rule.
France being a very forward moving country in Europe would have that classical challenge of,
yeah,
right, you can't necessarily network or socialize above your ranking in a corporation. I'm actually a little bit shocked. So I love these moments where I learn new things because we're in 2021 and I would have thought that would never happen in France. So I'm really interested in the comments that you made, that you have to be also cognizant when you're networking on the different rankings of officers or peers and or clients that you're around, and you have to be self-conscious. So I will take note of that. One of the things that I will share with my Asian Pacific community is that where you saw the differences in networking styles on the elevator ride up use case scenario in Japan and in Korea, where they are similar between, for example, Japan and Korea, is in the networking aspect of bringing together social and business. And so of drinking together, and then that leads to karaoke's, and it expands that business environment to a lot more social. So I'm not sure if you would be comfortable in doing that in your particular global regions. I know in Canada, for example, where we are at, or in North America in general, doing business in a karaoke environment probably is not the ideal form. However, as I mentioned, Asia Pacific is very good at mirroring the drinking for social and also doing business work during that means, just as long as you don't take it beyond a certain extent, as we all can appreciate that the business context may be lost after a certain time. And so you have to be very cautious in those circumstances. But we'll move to Berenice. What is your input
In
there?
Mexico, during the meetings, you interchange cards in the meetings, but I guess the best deals we get was on the coffee break. And it's very typical on these international meetings. In the coffee break, on those 5 minutes you have for the coffee or to take a break, you make the best deals. Best part of these big meetings are the small meetings in the hall or in the coffee or but I guess it's the best way and everybody knows it. If you can get 5 or 3 minutes with the people you need to, that's the best chance you have.
Yes, and I know Mexicans are very, and Spanish people also are very much a personable culture, and so having that personable connection is very important. So social means through a coffee break, a quick
Yeah.
catch up.
Yeah.
Aisha.
Back to your example about striking a conversation in the elevator, how in North America it's very easy to do that and you can just start talking to a stranger. So you can't do that in the Middle East. I mean, if you start doing that, people will think you're weird. Yeah, you just don't strike up a conversation with a stranger. You can't do that. I mean, you need to have some connection. So they're either your friend's friend, or maybe your friend works with them, or you work with them. I mean, there has to be some connection. Only then you can strike up that conversation. So you need to have that common link. So again, the other methods are very similar to the West, but I feel what's different here is the delivery of the content. So what you talk to them about. So I'm just going to give you one or two examples. For example, when I was doing my health coaching certification, there was a very long chapter on how diet affects your intimate life because of the conservative nature of the place. Even when I talk to clients, I'm not comfortable, and I don't think they would be comfortable listening to this talk either. So these are the things I can't really focus on, even though it might be very important to talk to them about, because obviously diet, it affects your mood swings and your sexual life, everything is affected. But I can't speak to my clients about that. That's one thing. Another thing I've noticed is that people in this region, so I'm just talking about the health industry here, specific to what I do. So people here are not that well informed, because I have clients in Europe and I have clients in the Middle East as well. And I feel that when I speak to the clients in Europe or even Canada or the US, they're a lot more informed, and I can actually speak to them about the technicalities of health. And they would ask me difficult questions. At times, they would ask me questions I don't even have the answers to. And I would have to go back and do my research and get back to them. But the people here in the Middle East, I have to speak to them in layman's term. So I need to make it easy for them and basically just start with the basics. So I feel this is the difference between the rest of the world and Middle East.
I know that Middle East is a lot more conservative. As the viewers know, that I deal with a philanthropic mission in Egypt as well, and that the same things or the challenges that you are mentioning, Aisha, in terms of picking the right topic, because networking doesn't start if you're uncomfortable, right? So networking only starts when you get comfort and trust, and to gain that, you have to pick the right topics and be able to maybe break down for easy consumption the way that that culture will receive it. And so very great advice, Aisha, in terms of meeting new people and then taking precautions on the type of selected topics that you wanted to talk to. Now, ladies, we have come to the final end, and we have the gotcha question. What this gotcha question is a little bit of a segue from the cultural aspect. What I wanted to ask you is, how is networking challenged for you as a woman in that particular region? And what are the variances that you have between male networking challenges and a female leadership perspective? So I'll give you an example. in North America, it was very profound when a lot of the males who wanted to network in our professional world would go into golf ranges and start golfing and networking in that realm. I personally did not have any interest in golf, but I actually had to in order to put myself at par with the same advances and the same benefits of what my male colleagues were doing. So I actually learned golf so that I could work my network and do the same thing as my male colleagues, have the same benefits and advances. And so I wanted to turn that back to you and say, do you also have some of these challenges and concerns in networking as women in professional world versus that of your male colleagues, and how might that differ from the industry?
I say that the situations have changed a lot here in France because maybe 10 years ago I would still be been taken for as a geek, you know. If I tell someone I'm an IT consultant, they would take me for a geek. You are only coding, you are only making programmation, you know, something like that. But today I'm taken for what am I? I'm a computer engineer. I'm a consulting in the field of IT, and this is very important. In this field, it's quite similar, you know. Maybe when we talk about economy, when we talk about social difference, there is a difference between France and Tunisia. This is obvious, you know. But in IT field, there is not a lot of difference.
So I'm just going to divide my response in two parts because I changed industries. So at this point in time, I'm in the healthcare industry and I deal with all women. As in 99% of the people I deal with, they all are women. It's majority are women who are in this industry. We need more men in the industry as well. So in the healthcare industry, I have not faced any issues in terms of networking. Or 11 years ago, like Nadia, I was an IT consultant as well. And I was in a male dominated field. So I was in Canada. And then when I moved to Dubai, I was the only lady working with hundreds of men. And they were a lot older than me. Again, as Nadia mentioned, I was like this young geek, 23, 24-year-old person. According to them, I didn't know much. They were all in their 40s and their 50s. And that was a big, big challenge for me to network with them. It was actually very difficult because there was no woman except me. No, but I hope it's changed. And, you know, during that time, all the men, they would socialize, they would go out at night, they would go to cigar lounges and they would go drinking, or you know, they would like go downstairs and have smoke breaks. Now the problem is I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't do anything. That was a really big problem. So what I used to do is that whenever they used to go down for their smoke breaks, I still used to follow them. I still used to go with them, and I never.
Aisha, kudos. That's important for the readers and the listeners here to understand. Don't feel that you have to hold yourself back. I love that.
Yeah. So thank God I did not take up smoking. I didn't do that. But of course, I was inhaling all the secondhand smoke, which was probably the same thing. But I had to be a part of it. You know, I didn't want to miss out on anything. I didn't want to miss out on their conversations. Even I wanted to get to those leadership roles. And this was my chance. This was my chance. And then there were times when I socialized with them also. When they went out drinking, I went out with them. I personally, I did not drink, but I sat there and I had a conversation with them. You need to prove it to the men that you're equivalent. You know as much as they do. And you can still have a proper conversation with them and impress them, and maybe not do whatever they're doing, like smoking or drinking or whatever. You don't need to do all of that, but you can have intelligent conversations with them. So you need to prove yourself.
So many great nuggets of advice. You can also participate without being uncomfortable in the situation and being able to be standing your ground, feeling confident, and then having the security that you are at equal value?
I'm proud to say that most of the most important colleagues on the drugs issues now are women. In the past, most of the most important leaders were just men. But now in my field, now we are more women. So it's easier. It's easier for us as women, as a team, to a better relationship with our colleagues as men. Women now are getting more leadership on these fields, on political issues also. And I'm proud to say that the women I know, as you ladies and as other ladies in the world, are getting able to get better positions and important positions to improve all these networking areas. Definitely, it's important to talk to people like you and learn from all around the world about all these topics. And finally, I just want to thank you and to thank you ladies from because listening to you allowed me to learn things, important things from you, from this kind of communication that it's very rich for me.
Muchas gracias por todo y cuidado y retorno para mí y mis amigas aquí, ¿ok?
Muchas gracias, te mando todo mi amor y todo mi cariño. I'm sending you all my love and all my light. So thank you, ladies, and have a wonderful day.
Buen día, gracias. Thank you so much, Berenice. For that notice. Ladies, I wanted to thank you so much for this particular contribution that you have made in terms of networking from an international stance and then contributing your points of view, because it's very important for the viewers out there to understand we can have differences, but come together in a platform to share and then mentor the girls behind us who are millennials and Generation I, or what they now call Alpha Gen. And we're hoping that we're allowing that platform for them to learn before they fall. And so, ladies, thank you so much. I appreciate all the different time zones that you have gathered in. And I will make sure that we get together and invite you back for another episode. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye, Aisha.